Hello, ladies and gents. My name is Balili on the beat. This is Paruto Music Podcast, and I'm the lead. Here with me today, I have.
My name is Jonathan Obise, and I happen to be the founder of Paruto. It's a pleasure.
Well, thank you, sir. Today we're going to be talking about music in general, and then we'll have a deep dive on gospel music in particular, and then how it affects the society. So, like we all know, music, and then, so I want you to say a little bit about the influence of music on our society.
Yeah, well, music happens to be something that's pivotal to, or has always been pivotal, to human existence.
Okay.
And when you look at music, it's also something that is not static. Over the years, over generations, the type of music that people listen to has changed or continues to change, as a matter of fact. So sound, it's a gift, that God has given humanity to sort of enjoy the world, I would say. So the influence of music on society really cannot be understated, because you discover that whether you're thinking of music in terms of, secular music that has affected society, you think of musicians who have used their music to affect, the social discussions, in society, that have used their music, to change governments, to really raise issues, with respect to society. So music in itself has a lot of influence, and we've seen that over the years. And also when you look at music, because particularly now when you also think about gospel music, as it were, gospel music has also evolved. Right?
Yeah.
You think about gospel music in terms of, let's say, maybe like in the 60s, 50s, or maybe even the 1800s or 1900s. You think about music like, there's this thing, okay, for those who probably know theory of music, you have what they call semi-brief, they have brief, they have crochet, and all of those things to denote music. Now, in those days, they had long form music. So you see somebody, even in Catholic Church, they maybe sing those type of songs where you see the songs are very slow, and then at the end of it, they will now go, amen. And they'll hold it for a very long time.
Yes.
But if you look at how music has changed over the years, people don't necessarily, in popular music, people don't really sing like that. Again, now you have fast-paced music and all of that, and it has affected so many things in society. Even in Christendom, it has affected Christendom, in terms of how people, fellowship with God, how people worship, how people praise and all of that. So we see the impact of music literally, everywhere and every day.
Yeah. Actually, what you said is actually valid, because I remember how back then, when it was Kick Franklin, when he just came up with one album, Stomp, it's music can be where it's all coming from, So, and then now it has evolved into something else.
And people don't see that type of music as anything
new again.
But then it was, okay. That's why I'm trying to bring the world to the church because of the style.
Yes, actually. So, as it is right now, looking at today, okay, this is 2024, I understand that, okay, there's a lot of musicians that have actually sprung up, over the years. And then looking at, let's look at Nigerian music, for example. Now, I know that there are a couple of musicians out there that are actually doing well, at the international level. Yeah. When you look at people like Sinach, of course, when you listen to the kind of music they do, they've raised the bar. People like Nathaniel Bassey, and then Beyonce. And then we have, other people that are really doing well. So now, looking at that, I want to talk about the impact of this very music to our own local churches. Then I know that we have to score songs like the Fred Hammond, Marvin Sapp, to Franklin, and then to do the church. But today we have the indigenous songs that we do. So how does it actually relate? How can we put it looking at what's going on?
Yeah, well, so indeed, music has evolved even for us in the church, especially here, let me say Nigeria, Africa, because a lot of churches that you go to today, they've sort of moved from scoring Black American songs to now singing indigenous, Nigerian, African, gospel music and all of that.
Yeah.
And it's because a lot of things that have happened over the years.
Okay.
The internet particularly has made it now possible for you to be anywhere in the world and you're able to see how the best produce whatever they produce, right? So that has influenced the musicians, that has influenced the singers. So now the quality of our music has gone beyond, those days where people just go and produce whatever they produce in the studio, and it's not really, it's not really competitive. Now you, just like you mentioned someone like Sinach, who has gone really really far in terms of her music. She, of course, I don't know if she's still registered to Integrity Music, but she was registered to Integrity Music. Waymaker was released on the Integrity Music label, and that song has gone far.
I was actually, I saw it. I was actually shocked. The thing is, it's like the table just turned. At some point we were scoring them, and then I saw a lot of these white guys doing her song, scoring and singing in church. I'm like, wow, like we are actually there now.
Exactly. So that has now made it possible, for a lot of Africans to now accept our own musicians, right? Because you can see their influence globally. You can see the impact, the quality of what they also deliver, has changed. So not just the singers now, the production, the instrumentalists, like literally everything in the value chain, I'll say, in terms of music has really improved. So that has changed, our outlook on the type of music, on music itself. So there is now even the African type of sound. So when you even think of things like, okay, now we have, Afro beats, right? Because we will have Afro beats and all of that. And it's being, accepted in the world. So that is now something that Africans are now owning. And as a result of that, you see a little less of, scoring of foreign songs. Now,
syncopations and all that.
So those things have really changed. Now people now create their own stuff. And I think it's also good in a way, because at some point you have to stop imitating. And now you begin to become original. You begin to produce your own original stuff that other people can now start copying you. So things have changed.
I think, of course, I think that's one of the benefits of actually like the technological advancements, like many years ago, like, before you make a song, like it's kind of like hard because, you have to go find all the hardwares, all the gears, all the tape machines, the analog stuff and all that. And then very few people could actually afford to even do that. But now with the advent of technology, we have some of these gears being remodeled into softwares and all that. And then like we're learning how to do what the masters are doing. So I think it's a very good thing to look at. And then another thing I wanted us to just dive in, the lyrics, looking at the gospel music, how has it actually shaped, the society? Because whether we like it or not, they said music is a fool to the soul. So whatever you listen to, just like the Bible says, faith comes from hearing and hearing the word. Like whatever you listen to has a way of, you become what you listen to with them, because that's what you feed on. So what can I actually say about the lyrics and how it can actually affect, society and then cause like a change or something? What can we say about that?
So music and lyrics, lyrics of course affects society, right? Affects a lot of the things that how people perceive, whether it's themselves or how people perceive the message, right? Now in terms of gospel music, there are songs that are feel-good music. There are songs that are deeper worship. If you want to pray, if you want to study, the songs you listen to. If you want to be happy, you want to be joyful, you also know the kind of songs you listen to. You understand? So lyrics, it's a powerful tool, and that is why for people who understand the power of music, like I always say, if you think of music, you realize that, let's say people who go to church. If you ask a lot of people, okay, what did you learn in church? Maybe the previous Sunday, you discover that very few number of persons will be able to tell you specifically what they learned in church. But a lot of them will be able to tell you, okay, I think we sang this song, or the choir sang this song, or I heard this song during the praise and worship session. And that's the power of music. So lyrics is powerful, and whether we like it or not, it has influenced people in different ways. There are songs gospel music that you listen to, that when you listen to the lyrics, you want to pray.
Yeah, it's true.
You understand?
Yeah, it's true.
There are those that when you listen to the lyrics, you feel encouraged. You know, so
yes.
it's powerful. And for those who know how to wield their pen, you know, to write down lyrics and really put, inspiration to words, I think it's a gift. Yeah.
Yeah, looking at, see, like you've rightly said, there are times myself, when I want to pray, like, there are some songs that when I listen to, like, I just find myself already, it's like it transports me to another realm, and then everything, like, is just smooth.
Yeah.
And then, of course, there are some kind of songs that when you just feel the vibe, you just want to start dancing, like, grooving and all that.
Yeah.
So I think people that have actually invested so much in understanding how music works with the people's emotions and then our mental well-being, I think they're actually doing a very great job in helping us live well.
Yeah.
So another thing, recently, looking at the social space, there've been a lot of controversies about some kind of gospel song because when they came, it was not looking like, like it's doctrinally like, okay, you understand?
Yeah.
So what can we say about songs that actually go to the extreme?
Yeah.
An example of one of those songs is, I've watched some people online, there's this song, by this artist, what was it called? I think it should be Ebuka songs. There was this song, there was this anthem. He specifically wrote it. He said it was an anthem, like 5 months we love Jesus or something like that. So I saw a commentary on Facebook. Like people were like, this is not a worship song. I'm like, guys, do you sing national anthem in church as a worship song?
Yeah.
I said, the guy specifically said that this is an anthem. So I think I want us to look at, how people take some of these things to the extreme, and then instead of blessing the body, like it becomes an issue.
Yeah.
So what can you say about that?
Well, I'll try to also not to be maybe, particularly maybe critical, right?
Yeah.
To contribute to discussion. But the thing is, when we write songs, especially when you're writing gospel music,
Yes, sir.
you're writing gospel music, it's very important that a lot of time people understand that the gift of music, it's not for you to exalt yourself. You understand? It's for you to showcase God's glory through your lyrics, through your music, and for you to minister.
Yeah.
You understand? So for musicians and also for artists, you have to be careful, how you write songs.
Yeah.
You want to also write songs that at the end of the day, people don't see it, and then it becomes a thing of unnecessary debate.
Yeah,
You understand? So, particularly for that song, for example, find women like Jesus and all of that. Yes, people will say, some people will say, okay, yes, it's true. The Bible says you're wonderful, you're beautifully made, and blah, blah, blah. It's true. You understand? So, at the time of maybe writing the song, he might have been inspired to say, hey, God is also creating people who are well-to-do, and they also have a relationship with Jesus.
Yes.
You understand? So, a lot of times, too, it might also happen to be that maybe the perspective, from which somebody else is looking at it, and then they feel, is this person trying to praise himself and all of that? But you must also understand that we're coming from an era where there was a time when they used to say, you're poor as a church rat.
Yes.
Do you understand? So
I remember that. Yes.
People say you're poor as a church right now. By the grace of God, the church is not. You don't say that necessarily, right? Because God has blessed His people. God has elevated His people, and sometimes lyrics like that might come from that place of gratitude. That hey, by the grace of God, I'm beautiful, I'm wonderfully made, and I love Jesus.
I love Jesus.
You understand? And that's the message of the song. So there wouldn't be any need to sort of begin to put unnecessary interpretations. You understand that people begin to debate over all of those things. No. I just really not.
So I think that should take us to a point where I think I don't know for Nigeria, like right now, like the Christian body, normally like in a developed society there used to be like censorship boards that censor some of these things, But looking at our own environment, I don't know for right now. Actually, I'm not actually informed about that. So I think for musicians need to maybe step up to actually understand that this thing we are doing, like they need to understand the basic of the Christian culture, like the word, the spirit. Like if it means maybe taking a course like on trying to understand the theology, the doctrines, things you believe, and then like I think that will work
Yeah.
So I think it will solve and save some of this.
Yeah,
stuff.
the challenge is, people can have their own theology.
Yes,
That's the truth. Anybody can have their own theology. Somebody who, you see, when you look at the world, you see, for example, people who have claimed to be pastors or ministers who led their followers to suicide.
Yes.
They had their own theology that they believe. They had their own doctrine that they believe.
It's true. Something like that happened in Nigeria.
Yeah. So the thing is, when it comes to writing songs or when it comes to music, generally there's not necessarily maybe a board, of course, Christian board. I'll say don't produce this music, don't release this music, nothing like that. In the secular, they have that. If for example the song is too vulgar, they can decide to say, hey, no, this should not be aired, this should not be broadcasted, we'll ban this. In Nigeria, for example, we've had situations like that where people release songs that, was banned outrightly.
Yeah.
So in gospel music, there is nothing like that. At least there is no Christian body that can ban the song from going out. So, but for you, if truly you are a minister who understands your calling, who understands the gifting you have, then you want to make sure that when you put out songs, they are doctrinally correct. And I always say doctrinally correct. It simply means that it actually has a foundation, a robust foundation in scriptures. Not a biased view that you may have of scriptures, but a robust foundation in scriptures that's scriptural and also, that glorifies God at the end of the day. That's just it.
Wow, that's actually beautiful. Let's look at music as a form of expression. Looking at different cultures, particularly, when you go to the northern part of the country, there's this kind of music, that some people call it, new life, or like outside it's called sabore. It's a way they like, there's this cultural northern feel, that they embrace, they kind of sing, and then there's the Matan Zumunta and the Zunte Mata, when they have to do all of those traditional instruments and cultural stuff. So, but then on the other part of the country, like when you go to the south or the west, like it's completely different. So someone coming from a background, let's say from a northern background, and then with his kind of sound, and then another person from another part of the country, like how do you think these things can be, these different identities
can come together?
Can come together and then create like a fusion, and then bless the body of Christ.
Music is boundless, right? Music is not genre specific. Right? And because when you go to India, for example, you have Indian sound. If you go to Asia, you go to Egypt, you have Arabian sound. You understand? So the message is the same, but the genre of the music may not be the same. If you go to China, for example, they give you all the ching chong and all of those things. They have and it's music.
It's music.
Like if let's say you take the lyrics of God So Loved the World, right? If you sing it as a white guy, you may sing something like God so loved the world. If you go to maybe the Arabian society, they begin to put minors and God so loved me. They may just put something else, but it is still music, right? So what I believe is there is no boundary to music. So there is also, nobody should put a limitation to sound.
Yes.
You understand? The message of the gospel is constant, but the sound is not constant. The sound that you grew up with is not the same sound that somebody in China grew up with. So you shouldn't put yourself in that place where you're opposed to sound. You should be receptive of sound. It's only people who haven't really traveled or who are not exposed, maybe internet-wise. You even need to travel. You're not exposed, and that's why people say, "Oh, I don't like this sound." No, because if you grew up, let's say if you grew up in Africa and you listen to the style of music of maybe China or something, you will not. It wouldn't necessarily be suiting to your ears, but for them, that's their sound, and they love it, and it makes sense. It makes sense for them. So I think it's about, if you're open, you can literally work with anyone. You understand? There are people who have done it. They've worked with people across, different countries, different societies, able to just bring that. Not so much, but it's something that if you're open, you can always, work with anyone. Literally.
And
bring sounds together, as it were. Sound is a gift.
Yes.
That's the thing. The message is constant. That's what I tell people. But sound is a gift. So, and this is what I tell people. I say, when you talk about the genre of music, whether it is rap, R&B, or whatever new genre that you've never heard of, I say all of those things are just reggae, they're creations.
Yeah, creations.
So if you go to Jamaica, for example, almost everybody is singing reggae.
Reggae, yes.
Because that's their own sound. Do you understand?
Yeah.
So you cannot say because you are not used to that sound, you don't accept it. No. It's the message that should be constant, but the sound can change.
Yeah, wow. This is
God
deep.
can even inspire you to have a new sound.
Yes.
But the message is still the same.
Yes. This is actually very deep. For the musicians out there, get it.
Yeah.
The message must be constant, but the sound can change, like it can evolve. Wow.
Very well.
Wow, this is very, very deep.
Yeah.
I think that reminds me of when the first time I had a song by this Nigerian minister, Theophilus Sunday.
Yeah.
Like, the first time I had the sound, like I couldn't understand what was going on. The guy came out with something very different, Then it took me back to the Bible, where the Bible is saying that, okay, sing psalms, and then the hymns and then spiritual songs.
Yeah.
So, like, the guy just came out with some kind of spiritual songs, and then when you just play his sound, you just see like the atmosphere changing and all that. So at some point, I know that he actually faced a lot of criticisms, like we are not understanding what this guy is singing. He's not singing any words and all that. But look at it today, like almost everybody has, he's almost doing the same thing, like kind of like. So I guess maybe I think people just dwell on maybe singing just psalms in church, and then they forgot the other part, that there are spiritual songs, there are chants, there are other stuff. So I think people will just hold on to just one thing and just create that attachment, and then feel like, okay, like we don't to have this other thing does not work. So, but the balance, I think it's what we should be looking at more.
Yeah.
So
just before we go on, I think it's also important to still restate that the message is the most important. So if I listen to a Chinese song or a song in a language I don't understand, it's not the sound that's the main thing.
Yes.
I will first ask for what is the lyric, what is he's singing, what she's singing, because I want to understand the message.
Yes.
But I can always adjust to the sound. You understand? But if the message is there, because somebody can also sing a song in the sound that you're familiar with.
Yes.
But the
message is rubbish. Yes. It's actually a whole lot. It's a whole lot to look at. And then another thing is, I wanted us to look at, the economic importance of music, like how it has affected people, like musically, economically, and then even the church.
Yeah.
Looking at the advent of technology, and then with other streaming platforms and all that, I think for creatives, how has it actually helped us become better?
Yeah, well, times have changed. So we've gone beyond now the times of, buying CDs.
Buying CD, those times.
So as a creative, you need to be able to be in the know of what is now acceptable. So if you produce a song, how do you distribute a song?
Yeah.
That's a different topic.
Yes, of course.
Hopefully, of course, we'll have time to go through all of that in the series of podcasts. But you have to be able to understand the platforms. How do you distribute your topic? How do you distribute, let's say, your topic, your songs, to different platforms, whether it's video, whether it's audio. And it's, because things have changed, the internet has also made it now possible for you to be able to seamlessly, get your song to the world without a lot of paperwork.
Yeah.
You understand? So a lot of the paperwork today is handled by companies, distribution companies, publishing companies, and the internet has made it possible. You just need to know where to find the right information.
Yeah.
And then it literally, so information is power. That's just it. If you don't have information, somebody can produce a song. The song can be good, but if the song has not been distributed on distribution platforms, it will not be anywhere.
Wow.
So then today people listen to songs on Spotify, people listen to songs on YouTube Music, iTunes, Apple Music. So if your music is not there, they only listen to your music. You understand? And when these songs are there, it also opens doors, opportunities, whether it's for TV licensing and maybe even playing on satellite channels that want to play your music. There are many things people need to know about distributing music, but technology has made it a lot easier.
Like recently I was talking to somebody and then he mentioned something to me, like a very coded information. He said he knows one of the top Nigerian gospel artists that right now, like that a part of her royalties, is over 800 million naira. And I'm like, how is that possible?
Yeah.
Like, was it that she sold CDs? Or was that just like, no, it's from streaming platforms and all that. And I'm like, that means a lot of people don't even know what they have. I think for we here in Nigeria, I think some of these things have actually been there.
Yeah.
It's just that we've been ignorant about some of these things, and then just like Jesus was saying, my people perish for lack of knowledge. So I think for every musician that it's actually out there and then trying to like, okay, get value for what he does, I think you should seek knowledge for like on how to go about all of these things.
Yeah.
While you're blessing the body, you still get blessed.
Yeah.
So I think musicians like spend time to actually try to get to know. Of course, you can always meet any of us. If you want to
you can come to Paruto Music.
Yeah, you can come to Paruto Music.
You can come to Paruto Music and you'll be educated. Yeah,
you'll be educated about some of these things. So imagine sleeping on your bed and you like all your bills, like practically you don't have to worry about anything. You've already built a catalog for yourself that will feed both you and your unborn generation. This is like generational wealth.
Yeah. By
just the gifting of music. So I want to look at something a bit sensitive, lately there's been a lot of uproar in the social media, like everything. If you want to know what's happening in the country, just go to the social media. Recently there've been a lot of controversies about some pastors and then church musicians. Should they pay musicians? Should they not pay instrumentalists? All of those things. And then, of course, I'm an instrumentalist myself. I play music and I produce and I sing. So I kind of have my own experience. So, but I don't want to talk about that right now. So, what do you think can be done to sort out these things? And then where did we actually miss it? Because to me, I felt this is not even supposed to be an issue. So can you say something about that?
Yeah, well, I think for that, it's actually, I would say straightforward in the sense that full-time, staff of the church, or any religious body usually are paid, right?
Yeah.
In the West, for example, they call people who maybe sing in the choir, work with maybe media tech, they call them volunteers.
Oh, wow.
You understand? So as volunteers, you don't necessarily pay volunteers. In Africa here in Nigeria, we call them workers. So church workers.
There's workers meeting, workers
and all of that. So
those.
when the West, they call them volunteers. So volunteers are not expecting, to receive payment.
Yeah.
However, there are maybe the music director is full time.
Yeah.
So usually they will be on a salary. So it's actually straightforward. If the musicians are full time musicians for the church, then they should be on a salary.
Yeah.
Right? But if they have some other work, then they don't necessarily need to be on a salary, right? And then the same thing too for the pastors. There are pastors who also have their jobs.
Yes.
You understand? But they are still pastors. They're not paid, right? They're not on salary. So but if the pastor is a full-time pastor, of course, that's his full-time work.
Yeah.
You take all his time, so you should So for the musicians too, it will not be, let's say for the musicians who are not being paid. But then you're taking all their time in the church. Then it would be completely unfair. That you're taking all their time, they're not able to work, and then you're not paying them. That's wrong. Do you understand? You look at the example of, and it's simple actually from scriptures. You look at Paul the Apostle. When Paul the Apostle, was going on his missionary journey, he was still a tent maker.
Yes.
You understand? He was still making tents to still fend for himself and all of that. So, my belief is if you have a secular job that caters for your needs, that you're able to put one and two together, and you're able to live off of that, you don't expect payment from the church, right? But then if you're a full-time worker, of the church, of course, the church has to pay. The church has full-time accountants, the church has full-time administrators, the church has full-time security, the church has full-time gardeners, the church has full-time cleaners, and they're all on salary. You understand? So if you have full-time musicians too,
of course, that's a very beautiful summation. Well, I wouldn't say more than that. Actually, some of us have had our kind of experiences, growing up in the church, it's something else. But well, God has been faithful. Well, that aside, so it's actually safe to say that music like the gospel music in particular, whether we like it or not, has a way, it affects the society. Well, it's actually been a great time. Looking at the influence of music in the society, like we've been talking about, we're going to look at how it reflects, the society, like how the values and the beliefs of people like are being shaped and all that. So how, like, what can you actually say about looking at what's obtainable right now in the society and all that?
Yeah, well, on that, music and society, I think the feature of music is the fact that people have gifts of music. God has endowed people with gifts of music.
Yeah.
And those who have the gifts of music must understand that it is sacred, right?
Yeah.
Because whatever you produce, whatever you put out, becomes something that will be there for eternity, as long as, till Jesus comes.
Yes.
Because if you produce something and you put it out online on social media, it will be there, with all that we have today. So, number one, those who have the gift of music must appreciate the sacred gifts that they have, and then they must use it to be able to influence society right. So whether it is the larger society in terms of music, writing songs, or it's even in the church, writing songs for the church. So you must be able to write songs and music that really can change lives, that can bring about, transformation of lives, transformation of destinies, and at the end of the day, glorify God. Wow. So I see music will always be here. Sounds will continue to change, will continue to evolve. God will continue to give people new sounds, people will continue to develop new sounds. The quality of production, everything will continue to improve. Yes. Artificial intelligence too is going to have its own play. You understand, in terms of what people will be able to do with music. There's so much, that would happen in terms of, music, the future, and also, those who God has endowed to utilize a gift well. So whether you are endowed with the gift of music or the skill of music, or you happen to be an innovator in the space or a businessman in the space, because there are people who are in the space of music, the business of music, who have no skill of singing, no skill of music, but they're just the business executives. They make decisions, for platforms, for distribution, and all of that. So everybody should just, do whatever you do with the consciousness of the fact that whatever you do is going to affect lives.
Okay, actually, that's a very good one. And then something I would really like to look at is I want to give a tip to some of our people in the church. I know for a fact that some time ago there's always been this notion that young people in church that are gifted and talented are being taken over by the world, in quotes, like living the gospel scene and all that, because they are getting money out there and all of that. I want to say that as much as that is somehow true, most times when people talk about career, we honor the child that goes to the university and becomes a doctor and a lawyer, but then people that have skills like music, there seems to be this kind of bias, And then I feel for our own Christian millionaires and billionaires, I think like I mentioned earlier, one of those big names got a proceed of over 800 million naira just through streams and all that. I think our own Christian millionaires should come into the music as business, like the gospel, should harness some of these talents and then make investments, and then they'll be glad they did. Because I feel for the country, like for Nigeria in particular, I know just a few maybe labels or business people that actually invest in more in music. I think there are no structures that can actually harness some of these things. So I feel that Christian space, So I feel like people that have that eye come into the church and then harvest, you are the one with everything, they come and harvest your stuff and then take it out there, milk it and make more money and then throw the thing back at you. So I think we need to look at that too.
Yeah, no doubt. There's no doubt that in terms of music, there's a need for, of course, I would say awareness. You understand? For maybe those who are well-to-do, who have the means to be able to see to also look at probably how, the business opportunity that
Yes.
is there,
Yes.
even in gospel music. The gospel is free,
It's free.
but it is not cheap.
Yes, yes.
You understand? So even gospel music, it's the gospel, which is free, but to produce a song is not cheap.
It's not
So if
cheap.
one person has to produce a song, they have to go to the studio, they have to pay, they
Yes.
have to distribute, they have to do so many things, to see to that sound even comes out.
Yeah.
So those who are well to do, that God will put it in their heart.
Yes.
And you understand?
Yeah.
Because it's also a two-way street, because one is those people who come into it must also understand that it's ministry.
It's ministry.
You
Yes.
understand?
Yes.
Ministry, number one, you want to exalt Christ. At the same time, you also want to at least be profitable. If you put your money somewhere, you should be able to make a profit. You
Yes.
should be able to turn a profit and all of that. So it's for God to put that in the heart of people who are in the church, to really see the value there, and also exploit it. While at the same time, also there's also this thing about the fact that we do gospel music, but also we must also understand, gospel musicians must also understand that you cannot compete with the world.
With the world, yes.
You understand? So you cannot be on the same pedestal. You're not serving the same goal.
Yes.
So in as much as you also want to be profitable, you have to be careful that profit does
Yes.
not become the major
Like
driver.
the major driver,
Yes, and
yes.
because when that becomes the major driver too, if you're not careful, you lose the message.
Yes.
You will now begin to sing things that people want to hear.
That people want to hear.
And all of that. So it's a two-way street, but so it's a thing of I would say moderation.
Yes.
So while pursuing gospel music as it were, the truth about it is that whatever you lay your hands to, the Bible says He will bless
He'll
it.
bless it, yeah.
You understand?
Work of your
And there
hands,
is,
yeah.
of course, profit wherever, whether it is
Wherever.
gospel music or secular, it doesn't matter.
Yes.
There's profit.
There's profit.
So for those who God lays in their heart, well, they can jump into it.
Yeah.
You understand? And of course, because there's profit there are systems. If you build systems, it will bring back return. The challenge most of the time is that people don't build systems.
Yes.
You look at the secular world, you discover that institutions build systems. A lot of the big music institutions that we have today, whether you talk of the Sony of this world or the Universal Music, they've been around for decades. They've built governance systems. That's the same thing too that Christians also need to understand. The fact that you're going into something does not mean you should do it anyhow.
Yes.
The church it has structure.
Yes.
So if you're also going into business as a Christian, you must also put in place structure.
Yeah,
because it is structure that will bring about, the returns for the long term.
For the long term.
You
Yes.
understand? So yeah, that's it.
Wow. I think that's like I hope we're actually enjoying ourselves, Yeah, and then the thing is, but I feel to cut down on some of these things that calls for and the place for having like a spiritual authority, more like a covering. Like musicians need to have people that can caution them. When you are submissive to authority, and then when your pastor can call you, like even if, for example, you're supposed to fly to London, if you're like, you should be able to, your pastor should be able to call you and like, God said no, and then you stop. You understand? So I think people should be able to, musicians, of course, we musicians. So we should be able to have like that submissiveness and that culture of humility that we can actually submit to ourselves, to one another, and then to our spiritual parents, so that we don't go to the extreme, because God actually plays some of them as our help. So neglecting authority can actually lead to some of these things that at the end of the day, a scandal or an error that can actually be avoided, So I think we should talk about that too.
Yeah, I think that's really important, because as a musician, you should have an authority over you.
Yes.
You understand? You should have, because the danger with being a musician who travels from one place to the other is that most of the time you travel to these places and you don't listen to the word.
It's true.
You just go there to
just
pour out.
pour out, and
and then you're gone. You pour and you're gone. You pour, you're gone. And if you're not careful, you're just running on reserve. Knowledge, reserve anointing, reserve energy, but the person is far gone. You understand? So every gospel musician should be under a pastor over your head.
Yes.
A pastor who, by the grace of God, you're under, it's a mentor, it's a teacher,
Yes.
over your head and all of that, because it's important. Because if you don't have anybody who can call you to order, that's definition of a bastard.
Yes, it's true.
You understand? If nobody can call anybody to order, that means
Yes.
you're a bastard.
Yeah.
So, and that shouldn't be a Christian musician. So no matter the elevation God has given you, you must have a pastor, a minister over your head, that can teach you
Yes.
the word. That's the purpose, to teach you the word. So as you're jumping around, you're flying around, you still are obedient and submissive to the word.
The word.
God.
Yes. Wow. That's something to really think about.
Yeah.
Well, we've said so much, and then we've talked about a whole lot. Well, God is always faithful, and then I believe that and the people watching and then listening to us, have actually been blessed, and then have picked one or two things, And now, in conclusion, looking at musically, like music generally, especially the gospel part that would actually narrow down them in talking about, what can we say for someone that is just coming up, that has a lot of gifts, and then he's hidden, and then he wants the world to listen to him, and then possibly he's in a place where people don't even believe in giftings like that, or he's in a church where there is no value placed on what he does, and then how does he navigate his way through?
Yeah. Well, I think that one particularly is going to be a different topic, that we can actually spend time, to discuss. But one thing anyways is this: whatever God has placed in you, God has placed something in you, find a way to express it.
Yeah.
You understand?
Wow.
You cannot how now, no matter the opposition against your gifting, your talent, you must always find a way. You pray about it and find a way to express it. That's just it. There are different ways to look at maybe specific situations.
Yes.
But you must find a way to express what God has given to you, and you must back it up with prayer, because if God is behind anything, there is no Jupiter that can stop
It's
it.
true. It's true.
You understand?
Wow.
God can lift anyone from nothing to something.
Yes.
From nothing to glory. So if God has really placed something in your life, it doesn't matter who is saying you cannot. It doesn't matter. All you need to do is continue to water what God has given you, and at the same time back it up with prayer. At the right time, appointed time, God will open it. There are so many. That's why I say it's a different stuff, because when you look at the scriptures, you look at the life of Joseph.
Yeah. Yes. David too. He was in the bush.
You understand? So
yes.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter who gangs up against you. They put you in pits. They send you to slavery. They do. It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
God will turn what is meant to be for shame, for your destruction, for your elevation.
Yes.
You understand? So the only thing that is primary is continue to water your gifting. Joseph continued to water his gifting even in the prison.
Yes.
You understand? David continued to water his gifting. He was practicing even in the desert where he was tending to sheep. So the most important thing, continue to water your gifting. At the right time, God will elevate you. Yeah.
Continue to water your gifting. At the right time, God will elevate you. Wow, I think that sums up everything for me.
Yeah.
Over the years, had a lot of experiences, met a lot of people and all of that, but all I can say is God is faithful.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what it is, He's faithful.
Yeah.
And just like you rightly said, if God arranges the thing for you, and just allow God to make your life a wonder. In a nutshell.
Yeah.
Well, we've talked about so much, and then I believe that we've been blessed. And then to wrap up everything, sir, is there any final words for us?
Well, final word. Final word. The final word is that you're going to see a lot more from, Paruto Music Podcast by God's grace. So there's going to be a lot more coming your way.
Yeah.
It's going to cover a lot, not just, whether we're talking about spiritual aspect of music, secular aspect of music, music business, everything you should know about music, creativity, composition, writing.
Yeah.
So much, is going to be coming on the podcast. So, hey, just look forward to it. And I know there's going to be a blessing to you. And whatever it is that God has given you, will find expression by God's grace. Yeah.
Amen. Thank you so much, sir. Well, it's your boy again, Daniel from the Beats. Here, your lead, and then we have
Jonathan Obise. founder of Paruto.
Thank
And
you
it's an
so
honor
much.
to be here with you. This is our inaugural podcast, by the way, on Paruto Music.
Actually, this like
It's just going to get better.
It's gonna get better, of course.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, sir. God bless you.
Thanks.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you. Bye. See you
Bye.
next time.
Ciao. See
See you
ya.
next time. Yeah.